I wanted to do a quick video on the Mueller report because I really feel like this is important, what's going on, and I really wanted to discuss it. And I did have another video planned for today, and I also have to get to the second half of my interview with Robot Interiors, but I really just wanted to jump on this. I actually wanted to do this live the other day, but I've had a head cold, and this is the first day I haven't sounded like Alex Jones. So we're just going to jump into this. I just want to talk about basically what's going on now since the report came out or was handed in on Friday. I would like to do a second part to this, maybe in a few days, where I go over like the beginning of how this all happened, because there are so many different people and so many different situations. It's very complicated, and I just think that it would be nice to like kind of do a Russiagate for dummies, and that's not a dig at you, that's actually a dig at me. I want to do a video that would have helped me when I was going through this, because I failed government when I was in high school, and I had to take it in summer school with the rest of the burnouts, and I believe there were questions like, who lives in the White House? Hint, it rhymes with resident. And I probably also still got that wrong. So this is obviously very complicated. There are so many people involved. So it would be nice to kind of do that in a second video. This video, I just want to talk about what's kind of going on currently. So I made a few notes. This is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do, just because there's so much to this. I wanted to, you know, have it kind of in front of me. So basically, what is this other than the largest political scandal of literally like in U.S. history? It was a special investigation or a special counsel investigation headed by Robert Mueller into allegations that President Trump colluded with Russia in order to win the 2016 election. The investigation lasted 22 months. The full report was delivered on Friday, I believe it was Friday, to Attorney General Bill Barr. And then it's his job to then read the report and summarize it and decide what to present to Congress and what should be made public. I'm gonna get a little bit more into that in just a second. But now we've got lead Democrats calling for the full the release of the full report, which actually Donald Trump himself has stated he'd be in favor of that. So, but there are laws that state what can and can't be released. And the Attorney General would basically have to be guided by those. It's not like he's just saying, I don't really feel like it. There are, you know, rules and regulations already set in place. And so he can't necessarily just listen to these people saying, release the full report. You know, maybe he even wants to, but he's got a job to do. And so now they're calling his credibility into question and saying that, you know, Donald Trump appointed him, so we can't even trust him anyway. And which reminds me of when this whole thing was happening, when the investigation was happening, they kept saying that, you know, any minute Trump was going to fire Robert Mueller and, you know, he was going to obstruct justice and get in the way of this investigation, whatever, which obviously never happened. But the lead Democrats and the media were all saying, you know, we need to trust Mueller. We need to let this investigation happen, and we need to trust the findings of this investigation, whatever. But now that the report is out, and this is not the conclusion that they were hoping for, suddenly now nobody trusts Robert Mueller anymore, and they're calling into question his, you know, credibility and his capability, and I mean, really his honor, let's be honest. So there are two Department of Justice regulations that come into play here. One is that a sitting president cannot be indicted. So if the report shows that there are indictable crimes, then it's the responsibility of the Attorney General to then present them to Congress so that they can proceed with articles of impeachment. And the second thing is that if there are no indictable crimes, there's no legal obligation to release the information in the report that might be publicly unflattering or damaging but are not crimes. And doing so would actually violate longstanding codes and practices. So these dummies out there saying like, oh, just release the full report, what's wrong with you? Well, what's wrong with him is nothing. It's that there are ways that you do things. And maybe we will see the full report. I don't know. I mean, Donald Trump doesn't seem to be bothered by, in fact, he said that he's all for that. So another interesting thing is that along with the finished report, we found out that there are no more connected indictments, either sealed or unsealed. So that's kind of interesting when you consider the list of sealed cases that I brought up in my Q video. I believe even since that video, we are up now even more. It's somewhere around 90,000, I believe, sealed cases in this country. We can't say sealed indictments because we can't assume that they're indictments. I mean, it would be pretty safe to say that at least some of them are indictments, but anyway, they're called sealed cases. But we now know for a fact, one thing we do know for a fact is that none of those 90,000 sealed whatevers are connected to this investigation, which is very interesting. So as I said, you can't indict a sitting president, but the fact that nobody else was indicted either, I think is pretty telling, because come to think of it, can you collude alone? Or would it take more than one person? I don't know. Something to look into. But the report actually stated that specifically that there was no evidence of Trump, his campaign, or any American colluding with Russia. So this is kind of interesting because these investigations, basically their sole purpose is to find out whether or not there is enough substantial evidence to move forward and indict. So you're kind of checking one of two boxes here. You're either checking that yes, there is enough substantial evidence to move forward and indict, or no, there is not enough substantial evidence to indict. So the end result of these investigations is never really exonerating anybody, right? Because the best you can do is really say, no, there's just not enough evidence to move forward. But he specifically put in his report that there was no evidence of collusion with anyone. So I think that's kind of interesting. It's like he could have just checked either box, but he made it even more clear than he needed to. So these are 5 things that did not happen. Mueller did not indict Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner or any of the other people whose purported legal jeopardy was the subject of intense media speculation over the last year. 2, Mueller did not charge anyone in the Trump campaign or circle with conspiring with Russia to fix the 2016 election, as was the subject of intense media speculation in the last year. Number 3, Mueller did not subpoena the president, as was the subject of intense media speculation in the last year. 4, the president did not fire Mueller, as was the subject of intense media speculation in the last year. And number 5, the president did not interfere with the Mueller investigation, as was the subject of intense media speculation over the last year. How did these people get this so wrong? We had people literally like, I think it was Eric Swalwell, he's a representative in California, was saying that he knew for sure that there were indictments coming. We had people in the media saying that this was, these are the last days of the Trump, administration, and the walls are closing in, and this is the beginning of the end, and that indictments were coming, and all of this stuff. So how did they get this so wrong? It reminds me of during the election, when we were getting reports from these media people saying that officially there was less than a 1% chance that Donald Trump would win the presidency. Are these people really that incompetent? I mean, we had people promising that there were going to be indictments, and that this was the beginning of the end. So is it that they are incompetent, or is it possibly that these narratives are necessary for them for some reason? And now we've got, lead Democrats, we've got Jerry Nadler requesting, demanding the full report be released and calling for further investigations into Donald Trump, even though this investigation that already happened cleared him of collusion. And And we've got almost a dozen other legal investigations surrounding Trump, including, the state of New York and congressional panel investigations. Everything from his businesses, taxes, people he's involved with. And so basically the story here is that they want to keep this going for as long as they can. I mean, I believe probably well into the election season, right? Because doesn't that suit them? They kind of want to keep this cloud, it would appear, over him. They certainly don't want to, take no collusion for an answer. They certainly, are not going to just accept it. So the report came in that there was no collusion. And do you think that if the tables were turned, if the report came back that there was collusion and Trump was in big, big trouble, would they be calling into question these two men, Bill Barr and Robert Mueller, are incapable of doing their jobs? No, they would be singing their praise. They would be saying what an excellent job these two men did. And that's not what you do as a human being. They should be embarrassed for their brazen double standards, but they're not for somehow. That's really kind of sick. It's a sick way to be as a human being. And so basically, even if you hate this man, even if you hate Donald Trump, as these people do, this should bother you. What is happening to him should bother you. And I'm going to tell you why. For one thing, in this country, there is a reason that we don't investigate people. We investigate crimes. Something supposedly happened on X date and go. That's what you investigate. Can you imagine what it would be like if the police could just knock on your door anytime, day or night, barge in and say, you know what, we're going to take a look around. We're going to see, if everything's above board here, make sure you're not doing anything illegal. And they were going through your underwear drawer, looking under your bed, going through your pantry, thumbing through your Nutter Butters. That would be very uncomfortable. It's insanity. And that kind of thing you cannot just investigate people on a whim. Also, well, I mean, I'm sure I've got probably for the more contrarian and smug friends of mine out there, there are probably some of you saying, well, I don't have anything to hide in my house, so it would be fine if they did that. So let me just maybe make it hit home a little bit harder for you and say that maybe they were going to go through your computer and like your browser history and like your telephone and all your pictures. And let me tell you a story that just happened to me. I basically, the other day, my iCloud just completely, every picture I've taken in the last 4 years was just gone. Thousands of pictures. It was actually really heartbreaking. I've got pictures of my family in there and all kinds of things, and it was awful. So I had to sit on the phone for hours the other day with Apple, and with a very nice man helping me, and it almost made it worse that he was so nice because I was so mortified at going through my pictures with this guy who was just trying to help me. But in order to get them back, he had to take over my computer screen, and he had to recover my photos one by one as he's sitting there. We're both sitting there and I'm watching these pictures pop up, and it was mortifying. And I don't even mean necessarily that they were dirty pictures, but like 10,000 selfies of myself in the same position, because 9,999 of them just weren't quite right, and the dumbest memes you've ever seen in your life. But anyway, let me tell you that sucks and is not okay, and he was just trying to help me. Can you imagine if somebody could just do that just to check it out, to see if you were doing something wrong, to see if you were breaking the law? That's insanity. And let's not forget how this whole thing even started. It gets worse than that, because more than the cops just showing up at your door and coming in to thumb through your Nutter Butters, imagine if they were spying on you and they had your phones tapped and the phones of your loved ones, family and friends and people you worked with, anybody that you had an interaction with whatsoever, just to see if you were committing a crime. That is what happened here. We had the Hillary campaign and Obama administration, I believe, were illegally spying on this man for political reasons. They weaponized the intelligence agency to spy on a US citizen. And that's not okay. And even if you hate this man, that should be setting off alarm bells in your head, because once we set the precedent for things of this nature, if we make it okay by not stepping in and holding these people accountable for doing this, then we open the door for it to continue to happen. And it is not okay to happen to anyone. Even if you hate the person, it's just not okay. It's crazy. And it's scary, to be honest. So that's why I just really wanted to talk about this and kind of what was going on, to kind of get the gravity of this. And I think that, mainstream media is still kind of bumbling around this and they're not really sure what to do, but I think it's pretty clear that they lied to us. And I don't know about you, but anybody in my personal life that I catch lying to me once, I kind of don't trust them anymore. Catch them lying to me more than once, and I really don't trust them anymore, I'm definitely going to turn them off as a human being in my life, right? So I don't know, just something to think about. If these people got this wrong, these people that we're supposed to trust to give us these, give us the answers to what's going on, they're either super duper incompetent or they are malicious. And I don't trust either of those things. I don't know about you. So anyway, thank you for listening to this. I hope that I hope to get that second video up this week and go over, more of the Russiagate for Dummies.